What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Essential Scares podcast, the only show that dares to ask the question, is it essential? I am your host, Corbin, and with me today, as always, is Bobby.
Award-winning costumer, Bobby, please. Check my Instagram. We'll talk about it at the end of the episode. Boo, boo, boo.
It's true. And a not-so-award-winning costumer, Alan.
Hey, how are you?
I'm not sure if Alan even had a costume this year.
No, actually. Well, so Maggie and I are going to a Halloween party, actually, this coming Friday, where I'm going to be a magician and she is going to be a rabbit that I will pull out of my hat. So I will be a magician. It'll be on Instagram.
By hat, he means... Never mind.
Yes, you're correct.
Nope. Yeah.
For skin... Okay.
He said it, not me. He's the weird one, not I.
Oh, boy. Well, we've got a great show for you today. We are going to be finishing off the month of Halloween new releases with yet another VHS movie, VHS 99. But before we get into it, Bobby has a spoiler warning.
This will serve as your first one and only spoiler warning for the brand new film VHS 99. If you do not want this brand new part of the VHS canon spoiled for you, please skip to the time code provided in the show notes or description for our spoiler-free essential discussion. VHS 99 takes place 5 years after VHS 1994. It's 5 years later. Is it 5 years gooder? Alan.
So
I told you it was funny, right? It was a good one.
It works. We've watched VHS movies here before, so it's a pretty similar story. We've got our, 4 or 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different individual little anthology horror stories. The one big difference, though, between this one and the others is, whereas the others have some amount of an overarching plot between each episode that kind of is its own story, that's not really here in the same way. But we have our 5 stories. The first one has to do with a band that goes into a haunted house, or a venue, basically, where another band went there and died, and things happen. We then go into Suicide Bid, relating to a girl rushing a sorority and the terrible things she goes through. We then go to the best one, which is Ozzy's Dungeon, where Trevor from Grand Theft Auto 5 shows up, and kids have to go through a very interesting maze. Followed by Gawkers, where a bunch of teenage boys are gawking at a girl.
And then we go to the best one.
Them. And then we go to Hell and back. So let's start from the beginning.
Yeah, let's do this. If you've listened to one of our VHS episodes before, you kind of know, I think, how we're going to do this. Yep. So let's just start at the beginning.
Shredding is this one.
Shredding.
I would have died. I would have died. I would have been one of the people who would have died in this. just knowing me,
in the Stampede?
I would have been the guy who would have the drummer who threw the spices. I just remember being like, guys, I don't know if this is a good idea. Like, with all of my punk friends who are like, don't be such a fucking wiener, dude. Let's go into the haunted house. It's like, I don't know, man.
Let's go to Hell's Gate.
I don't know, man. And then, like, everything turned out okay for me. But trust me, if I were to be haunted by a pussy rock band, yeah, like, it would have been. Pussy punk is an all female band. It's a subgenre. Mm-hmm. I'm saying the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's...
You gave me a face. You gave me a face.
It was, yeah, I mean, it doesn't.
Listen. The audience who only listens to this exclusively audio medium needs to understand why I got defensive.
Sure.
But,
It kind of sounds like you're just putting up a fight.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm punk rock, dude. I'm sick like that, dog.
So
yeah, I would have died.
what I want to say about Shredders is VHS has a storied history of putting one of the best shorts right at the beginning to kind of prime you for the movie and get you in the zone. And VHS 99 really decided to carve its own path by putting probably the worst one right at the front.
You don't like Jackass
start.
plus zombies?
No.
I like the concept, but everything about it, I just didn't actually enjoy watching.
It was
It's
very
not
boring.
that fun.
It was very boring.
My big thing with it is it takes too long. Like it's almost like it takes its time in a way that I don't think these anthologies typically do. Like we've talked about how, some of these will set the tone very early and you can kind of feel the tension, you can feel the weirdness. And this just is like 15 minutes of kids dicking around before anything happens.
Yeah.
And that's fine, I guess, but it doesn't set the tone that especially some of the later shorts in this actually end up hitting. So
for how much this VHS leans into horror comedy, you'd expect this one to actually be a good horror comedy short. And at the end of the day, there's some humor there, but it's just too many layers deep that if you haven't been in a music scene, you're not gonna get half. The fact of the matter is, the zombie rock band are a bunch of posers, and so are it's just posers killing posers type thing. Nobody here is actually punk rock. Everybody's being bought out by somebody else, and there's humor in that, but it's one of those
right.
Yeah, I get it. And not this is really good. Yeah. And so I think that this movie is very much like somebody trying to have a statement on the scene and it not working.
Yeah. It also it didn't tie into the horror element. The comedy element and the horror element didn't feel as connected as I would like.
I was assuming this was going to be the through line.
I thought
for
so too.
A minute. And yeah,
and
then
it was way
fun.
too long.
It'd be really fun to have that.
This is not.
Yeah, it's no one's died yet. Yeah. That's weird.
Yeah, and it just, I don't know. When I was watching it, we often the gauge of has a movie captured our interest is how much do I want to grab this little rectangle right here and take a look at it instead of the movie. And this short had me reaching for that phone way faster than any anthology series really should. Because it just doesn't do much with it. I didn't care about these kids at all. Just being little dickheads, and then they get murdered by a former band that also was murdered at the same place.
And
I don't know.
Every death is off screen.
Yes.
Which is kind of weird, and then the big shock at the end is they're all being puppeteered, just
But that's not even a shock, because they say outright they possess people. That's their thing. So it was oh, they got possessed. Oh no.
Well, I don't even think it's a possession thing. I think it's more so speaking the puppeteering of the music industry, dog, and the message is it is simultaneously just but also there's not enough holy fuck to happen in this.
Yeah.
And then also you just combine it with, I don't know. Alan, you weren't a public school kid, right?
Yeah, I was.
Did you also try to do jackass stuff with your stupid friends?
Oh, absolutely I did.
Yeah. So there was some familiarity here. Corbin, sure. I'm just assuming because you were not a public school kid that you didn't do stupid shit.
No, that would be accurate. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool. So here's how it works.
You didn't do, say, for instance, hypothetically, you didn't tie with bungee cords a computer chair to the back of your friend's truck and just drive around the block as fast as you possibly can without any safety equipment whatsoever.
Purely hypothetically speaking.
Yeah.
No, I did not do such a thing.
Hypothetically speaking, I absolutely did that in real life.
Hypothetically speaking, I definitely did not take grill cleaners and hit each other with them. We never did that. No chance. 0 out of 10. Didn't
Hypothetically speaking, we might have started a fight club when we watched Fight Club in the 8th grade.
that checks out. That checks out a lot.
Hypothetically, I lost a lot.
It was Bobby's first night at Fight Club. Every night at Fight Club.
Had a lot to prove. Could not prove it.
I mean, but like the point is that despite it, throwing you back and making you think about these things, like the short is so focused on attempting to zero in on the 99 culture.
Yeah.
And these other like pseudo intellectual themes about the industry at large that it kind of like forgets that
it's meant to be scary.
Also supposed to be scary. Yeah.
Well, and there's so many fake outs. Like it's one fake out too many, I think. Because the fake, like the one fake out with like, haha, dude, it's where like the guy leaves. I think that's the fake out that shouldn't be the fake. I think that was like the one fake out that like if they actually started to become possessed, that would have been very fun. But like,
I thought that was when it was kicking into gear as well.
And that's when
it's happening.
That's when it should have.
Yep.
Like the fact that like the guy gets thrown up into the ceiling, which like they never that's the one time where they show that they have like powers, and then they never show it again. There's just too much of this.
Everything else they do is totally physical. I didn't even think about that.
It's messy, but not in the way that it should be, right? Because the gore should be the messy bit, but there's like
it's there, but it's just not great. Like you don't really get.
Why does the drummer die? He figures out that like he can just go to your final resting place, spice, and he can just do that like 4 times, and he should have been fine.
Right.
And
when the camera leaves him, he's primed to survive and escape, and then the next time you see him, dead. Yeah. It's like, well, how did we get from that scene to this scene? Like
it makes sense. Like he was successful, which should have given him confidence. Any human being in that situation would be like, oh fuck, this actually works, because like. He does destroy it just
yeah. Yep.
Stupid. All right. Stupid short to start this off.
And did not work.
Yeah. Bad start.
Yep.
But now.
Yeah.
Suicide Bid.
Okay. So
big fan of this one.
Really liked this one
until the end.
But yes. I think that this one is like 85% incredible, and it didn't need the supernatural element. It could have stayed without that, and just like the naturalistic horror of it totally worked. And then like it went that one step too far, and it lost me a little bit.
I'll even go one step further. I would even have been fine with the supernatural bit. I did not like the explanation. I thought
what of like
she's like, oh, like hey so and so, I talked to Guillotine and she said I get to leave if you all die, and it's like
I don't know. I liked it.
It's too much. It's too much. The idea would have like she could even been there and she could have looked at them and then like Guillotine appeared like above and like ate down. Like she didn't need to explain like, hey, this is the way I get to go from hell back into the normal world.
Kind of makes sense already. Like
you get the idea. You get the idea. Well, like even the idea is like we're not trading. You like this is just the way it is, and you fucked up. Like you should have came for me.
I mean, I think that I don't know. I feel like when they first show Guillotine through the cross and the coffin, I thought that was going to be the only time you saw her, and it was like so like you'd get that shot, and then she wakes up, you don't see her anymore, the coffin fills up, whatever. And then you could do the coffin was empty. And it's like, okay, well, like, was this supernatural? Was she just, like, going crazy because she's dying? Like, I think you could kind of leave it a little more open-ended and even still leave the ending where they're all in the coffins, but without the zombies showing up at the end.
I think that's a good idea. Because, like, at the end of the day, like, you feel for her the entire time. Like, this is just unfair. This is just so mean. Yeah. Like, why would anybody do this to another person? And the reality is because, like, people generally don't. Like, most people have a conscience, but like it's like this is just a part of human cruelty that like sometimes we can trick ourselves into this, and that's really fun. And then they ruin it.
Yeah, exactly.
See, I liked it because it felt like, I don't know, I liked the like revenge plot basically that unfolds, like that you don't necessarily, I wouldn't say that you don't see coming, but it's not, I know I did not necessarily think like, oh, she's going to be able to get her revenge on
I
these other
don't think you
sisters.
can do a revenge plot in a short. I don't think it's
you can.
possible. I don't think it's possible. Because you need enough time for the revenge to make sense, and also the revenge to be satisfactory.
See, but I think the
Like,
revenge makes sense when I
The
was looking at
revenge
it, 'cause
makes sense, but the revenge isn't satisfactory. Like,
I think it is.
no, you need the catharsis. You need you don't feel anything. You're just like, oh, okay. Like, you're just like,
Yeah,
I
she
get-
got him.
Yeah,
And also, and it's like, but how? Like, if she was able to stick them in those coffins this whole time, like, why didn't she?
I don't know. I didn't. So I assumed that it wasn't whatever the ghost's name,
Guiltine.
Guiltine.
I didn't assume it was her that
Terrible
put them in
name.
there. I thought it was the other girl that put them in the coffins.
How?
I don't know. I'm just that was how I like thought through that. Is it wasn't the actual ghost, but her deal was she needed to trap the other sorority girls to gain her soul. So then she was the one who kind of acted out that revenge plot for her to then get her soul back, if she even did, which they leave that open to interpretation, I guess. I would say she probably didn't, frankly, but I don't know. I think what worked for me is it just I got the catharsis out of it because she went through this hellish night of she basically drowns to death almost. She's just absolutely accosted by this ghost. She's put everything into this one bid, and it's working out in the exact opposite way she wants it to. So then she gets revenge. It worked for me.
Hey, anybody ever heard the name Guiltine ever before in your life?
No.
Just
No.
Googled it. Lithuanian goddess of death. Terrible. Too on the nose. Too far on the nose. And again, I didn't hate this short.
You wouldn't have known that
No.
if you didn't Google it.
Yeah, you've never heard the name before. It feels like guillotine. You go, okay, like
Yeah.
that's like okay, so they're like doing like a whole like And here's the thing, right? Like I was willing to let that go. This short probably gave me the most heebie-jeebies out of all of them. Like by a long shot. I
agree with that.
It's probably the second best paced and the scariest of them all. That's my opinion.
Okay. Yeah.
And
It's definitely the scariest one,
yes.
I think. Even with me not really loving the ending, it's still the scariest out of the entire
Yeah, I
movie.
mean, being buried alive is like a core fear. Like,
but the reality is this feels like I struggle with this a little bit because this feels like a movie that we would hope to see in the lesser VHS movies. And and not necessarily like, because like VHS 94 in comparison to like VHS Viral, which we'll get to one day, I'm sure, is like, man, like every slot in VHS 94 is pretty damn good. And this feels like if this was in VHS 94, it would be the worst. But if this was in VHS Viral, it would have been the best. And like, that's a weird place to be. You know what I mean?
I
like,
agree with that. Mm-hmm.
Like and I would also argue this is not the best short in this one either.
No,
it's in a weird
so.
spot. It's in a really weird spot for me. But also stinky poo poo fart. Bobby's supposed to be the funny guy in this podcast.
Well, let's move on.
Yes.
Speaking of,
yes, let's do that.
So the next one is what was the official title of this? Is it
Ozzy's Dungeon?
It is.
Ozzy's
So
Dungeon
Ozzy's-
kind of owns.
Ozzy's
Fucking
Dungeon
awesome.
lost me.
Yeah, it's fair.
Exactly when you think it would.
At the end again.
Because
At the end again.
No, the end is what I wanted.
Okay.
And because when they set it up the way that the first portion up until Donna breaks her leg,
Yeah, gross.
I
Absolutely
was like,
disgusting.
oh,
Very good.
this is going to be great. There's going to actually be something through the dungeon. They're going to go through the dungeon, whatever, and then like the twist, the VHS twist, is going to be that it's not a game show. There's like something at the end.
Yeah.
And so like I was waiting for that, and then that was true. But the entire like torture sequence in the middle, like it just didn't do it for me. it like took me completely out of what I wanted out of the short. And so I think for that entire sequence, I was just like, are we going to get to see the dungeon? Are we going to... She was fine. Yeah.
I liked her. I thought the mom was fun. I liked the son and the dad were just like totally feckless, and she's like takes her shirt off halfway through. There's just something oddly believable. It was
funny, but there's something, I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. It's a mixture between torture porn, but you also kind of want to laugh at it. It kind of like goes like, huh, this is really fucking gross, huh? Like, I don't like this, but also this is kind of funny. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I think it wasn't funny enough, and it also like I felt like I was losing the potential of the short.
Well, I think the reality is like they for them to do that, they would have just had to do like a 30-minute game show broken down into 15 minutes, and then have because like the only way you do it is have that last couple minutes be the ending, right, where they they see Ozzy, and Ozzy is a eldritch horror that melts the face off of the wish granted person. You never find out what that wish is, but like that.
I just assume she wished. I assumed that.
I think she wished for those people to
wish for everyone to like die, basically. Yeah, that caused her horror and pain.
She wished for revenge.
Yeah, basically, and got it. For me, this one, like, the actor who led it, I don't know his name here. I can scroll and
the
find
guy
it real
from
quick.
Grand Theft Auto, the game that
Stephen Ogg is his name.
Zoomers, the guy.
He just absolutely steals the show in this beginning sequence. Like, his gravitas of being that game show host is just on perfect display here. And it's just perfect. Every bit, every line delivery, it's just wonderful. And for me to just have that totally flipped on its head with him being then the tortured one, just worked. Like, it worked really, really well. I was so into it. And then to, of course, see Ozzy and the whole sequence play out, this was a huge highlight for me for the whole of the of VHS 99.
This is one of two peaks for me personally, I will say. Like, I feel like you get there on Suicide Bid, and this kind of peaks out in a good way. It's the lesser of two peaks for me. Actually, for what Corbin said, where like the torture scene stops being funny, it starts getting just gross at one point, and it's just like this, and then they hit you with the wait, I can bring you to, and she acts like she knows that like Ozzy is a thing. That's I think that's kind of interesting. There's just enough interest there at the end. Like, this one I would say is the best suited for a full length. Because you could see it being like, this is the first half hour is just like a VHS recording of like a full half hour of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and
broken bones and all,
or just
for every contestant,
or no, just make it like a weird documentary about Ozzy is, and then have it like fade out into something really awful, and then have it end even the exact same way. I'd be fine with, but like, I think that you're right. There's a point where just like this is not funny. This is just gross, like where he's like crawling through human shit. It's like I'm not happy about this.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel. This is just mean at this point. But you know, the fact that they bring in the barbarian woman, that she's just always sitting in front always there.
Oh, I loved that.
That's great. That
was one of my favorite moments, because when they open the door and she's there, it's like, damn, like my thoughts were real. Like it is going to be something on the other side of this, because she's just always there.
Well, and there's like
so I got much more excited then.
Well, and there's like a weird worshiping thing. He's like he's never been that far, but somehow Ozzy knows his scent. Like it's just like, this is weird. I like this, and I think you're right. I think if they would have gotten to that sooner, I think you're right. The torture porn element actually doesn't need to be there, but I'm gonna take the middle route and say that it doesn't totally take me out. Like I was like, she's that entire like family, the actor who plays the son, the actor who plays the dad, and especially the actress who plays the mom. All of that is very like, just very fun and just angry and like a really like it's like she's just like, please stop the game. Oh fuck, dude. And the wound that she suffers, dude.
Oh, that broken leg is awful.
I was waiting for there to be like some sort of revenge for the other kid that never came.
Yeah, same.
Like
his face probably got melted off too.
Well, we don't
just.
He just wasn't there. So
they should have shown that. Like
he's just like sitting out on a park bench playing chess, and just fucking face melts off.
What would have been kind of cool is if they would have like done like a thing where like it's him versus the other dude and the other like and the kid's a little bit older, but he's like gotten pieces of him melted off and he's all fucked up and he's almost like lobotomized and he only knows how to fight, and so it's just like one of those things like winner lives type of thing, like
yeah.
That would have been a cool moment, but I think you can't have that moment and the Ozzy moment, so you had to pick between the two.
Yeah.
And I think that's...
and I would prefer Ozzy.
and I think that's why actually the torture porn scene suffers, is because you don't have that conclusion there. You had to make a choice, and they're like, what if we just do both? Like, it's like, well, that's, you know... But
I suppose.
But would you say that would you say it's more of a downswing compared to Suicide Bid versus
For me, it definitely was. Yeah, okay. For me, like it's like it starts low and then I hit a high with Suicide Bid, and then it was like low again, and then I hit a little bit of a high again on the next one here.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, Gawkers was to me like. It was I kind of saw through what they were doing pretty quickly, right, with all the statues and everything. I was like, oh, this is gonna be great. But it was funny. I liked the way that they wrapped in the interstitial parts. Like it wasn't a traditional VHS story, but it was like, yeah, this actually did matter, kind of.
You're getting to know Brady.
Yeah,
the kid.
Yeah,
like.
It was funny. It was very like 90s teen in that way. I loved the usage of the Gorgon despite her terrible CGI hair. I don't know. I just had a fun time with it. Like it certainly wasn't scary at all. I think this is probably the least scary out of all of them. But it was just a fun time for me.
I'll say, just to counter that, my favorite part about this was the offshoot mention of our favorite hobby between the three of us.
I love that. Yeah.
Anything else in this movie, I was like, this is just creepy and weird, and I don't like it. I do not like the weird, like, let's convince this 15-year-old who is like truly just like a nice kid to do something awful. Like, I just didn't like it. I didn't like it. It made me feel weird. I didn't like it.
Not surprised at all that Bobby didn't like this one.
But I looked at that and I was like, yeah, I get a bunch of 15-year-olds in 1999 just doing something like this. Like
they are not 15 because he's 15. Brady is meant to be.
Yeah, the other guys are 18 or whatever. Yeah, 17.
Yeah. I mean, I looked at that and I was like, yeah, I could see this exact like turn of events going on.
They have internet access, man. Even like 1999 porn is still porn. Sure. Like it's still better than whatever they're going to see.
Yeah, it's different though, and you know that. You know.
It's more creepy.
Yes.
Well, yeah, but that's not...
like the point, porn Bobby. Actresses are consenting to being seen by an unknown amount of people. Right? They're doing it because they're getting paid for it, and it should be a livable wage. Right, but like this Gorgon had no intentions of having her tits shown on a entirety of a VHS tape in 1999. Entirely inappropriate. Be better, 1999 teens.
Oh come on, you know they couldn't be.
I don't think anybody's disagreeing with your core
No!
proposal here.
Alan is,
It's
and
just
Alan
that-
should be canceled
I'm not
immediately.
disagreeing with you at all. Yeah, they should be better, but they're not, which
Yeah.
is not surprising.
Yeah, okay. But again, this has always been my uncomfortability, and this time,
Sure.
and this one feels the most like it's like fragrantly like just kids being kids, ha ha ha. And it feels weird. It just, cause like I don't know.
Does it make it better that they get ripped apart by a Gorgon?
No,
and
it doesn't.
frozen in
It
stone?
doesn't either, because there's like they're simultaneously the creepiest kids ever that like go through with a terrible plot, and that's bad. But on the other
Are they
hand,
really the creepiest?
on
kids?
the other hand, I feel like they're at that juxtaposition of being like too creepy for it to be okay and normal. They just go over that line. And the fact that they just all get completely fucked up when, like, in other previous VHS movies, it's telling you the message that, like, hey, 17-year-olds who do this aren't good either. And it's a good message because 17-year-olds don't install spyware on the hot neighbor. Just don't do that. It's fucked up and gross. But at the same time, right, it's like, none of us ever did that, but I feel like when we were 17, we probably also would have never done that, but we would have been much more like, dude, fucking sick in hindsight, because we were all stupid and we didn't know better, and we should have known better, and it's up to people to educate us to know better, and the fact that nobody educated us to know better until 2016 is a fucking problem.
So,
Yes.
so obviously, you know,
I'm getting on my high horse.
You're on your soapbox here, for
Take
sure.
me off the high horse. Yes, please.
Yeah. I think the core issue here is that irrelevant. It doesn't
Highly
matter.
irrelevant!
I don't.
Highly irrelevant!
I don't think that the moral obligation or like the discussion about what we would or would not have done when we were 17 has anything to do with these clearly immoral high schoolers. Like,
We have to engage with it because we're engaging with it now in my brain, and I'm right all the time.
You're engaging with it. I'm just like, wow, Gorgon.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's a cool Gorgon right there.
It wasn't even a cool Gorgon, and you all know it.
It was
What
cool
are you
enough. I
talking
liked
about? Yeah.
it. Yeah.
It was.
The CGI snakes weren't great, but like I can forgive that. You know, like
Yeah, CGI snakes are always bad.
yeah.
I don't know if I've ever
Go watch
seen a
Snakes on
Gorgon that
Plane.
looked
It's pretty
good.
bad.
Great movie.
Great movie, Bad Snakes.
Oh, definitely.
What movie was that?
Snakes on a plane.
Yeah.
I like the part.
I think
like
that
the
movie
part,
has the most snakes per capita, right?
I like the part
That's probably
where
correct.
Samuel L. Jackson says, "I'm tired of these motherfucking snakes and these motherfucking plane." Unironically, it's a great moment in that movie.
It actually is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it got memed to death, but when you see it in the movie, it's like, yeah.
Like, I am
I
tired
am
of these
tired of those
motherfucking snakes.
motherfucking
Yeah.
snakes.
On this motherfucking plane, absolutely.
Tired of
Yeah.
it.
All
But
right,
no,
let's.
the one thing I
Alan,
want to
yeah.
finish with is,
Yep.
I mean, you kind of knew like how this had to end, and I'm glad that they just give that to
Yeah.
you. Like,
Yeah.
of course it ends with dudes being turned into stone, because of course they should. Like, it's this one. So for me, I was just riding high at this point, and like for me it was a bit of a plateau, maybe a slight dip down with Gawkers, but not much. So like I was riding pretty good here through this tail end of
Yeah.
VHS 99.
So you rode that high all the way through.
Yeah,
Right.
pretty much.
I'll say that I liked the wraparound element. I did not like the short. It was another dip for me personally.
I actually think the wraparound element suffers a little bit because there's no
Final wraparound element.
hinting. No, because each one of the wraparound elements is like very specific about the cute little story it's telling. And by like the second one, I was like trying to look for little hints or clues about what the next short might be, and they never tied together at all. So I was a little bit bummed about that.
But let's
So
talk
Bobby.
about the best short
To
of all
hell
of them.
and back.
So good.
Yeah. So good.
This is pretty
love
good.
it. It is the high point of VHS 99. It's the first time I think they end on a high point. And
I would agree. It's
I
the best
thi-
one, and it's not even close. Like,
No,
how
yeah,
good
it's
this one
so fun. It's just
Yeah.
stupid fun. Like the characters are simultaneously comedic but believable. I love that the husband is just like, I'm not part of the coven. I just love my wife. It's very fun.
He's a wife guy, good for him.
We're all wife guys here. It's a great time. I love the synergy between the boom mic operator and the main character behind the camera. That's very fun. I love Mabel, the collector of souls. She's gross and very funny. It's just a really good horror comedy.
The interview with Kristen has a very like specific kind of energy to it.
Yeah.
Like she's like, so why did you choose to become the vessel of whatever? It's gonna be a bit of a weird comparison, but it's like a casting couch kind of interview is kind of what it feels like.
No, I hear it. But the thing,
You know what I mean, though? Like it really like it fits that.
I always
perfectly.
thought I would be something more important in life.
Exactly.
It's like, oh god. But this, I would say that this short saves the entire movie because it makes you look back and go, were all of these meant to be horror comedies? Because this one is very clearly that, and you look back and go, I think they all kind of were, and then you go, and then you're kind of soften on all of them a little bit, and so all of my
comedy
hardcore
anthology.
criticisms of everything is kind of like softened because it's like, yeah, even Gawkers is kind of funny because it's just like one of those like it's like one of those American Pie type movies that like has like a truly dark ending, which makes
So
you
you
go,
go on this whole diatribe to then tell us, hey, it softened me. Next short.
well, that's the whole I want. Listen, dude, listen, dog. I went on a diatribe because even American Pie is not. You shouldn't laugh at American Pie for the most part. In hindsight, it's not. There's it is simultaneously actually the original American Pie is simultaneously woke and fucked at the same time. It's like it's real weird, but like it just kind of like it you kind of like I was taking all even in the review I was taking all of these in a very like take these as they come, just to come back to and Helen back to be like this does revitalize 99 like a huge way, and like you backlog you're like maybe these were all kind of funny, and they all kind of are. Like
yeah, they're all kind of funny. I mean,
Yeah.
I definitely like.
but I don't think
If
you're
I were
looking
to-
for them to be funny up until you watch To Hell and Back, and then they go okay, like maybe that was
Yeah.
just me, but that was my whole thing. It's like I was like I don't get it. I like you. Ozzy was like okay. Ozzy's cave was like okay. This is kind of funny, but like the other ones, they don't actively play as like humorous. But then when you watch them back, you're like, yeah, okay, they're pretty funny.
I disagree with that a little bit. I mean, I think that even like I think the first one is meant to be funny with the zombies. Like they're very over the top. I think that maybe Suicide Bid probably isn't really that funny.
It's not meant to be funny. I don't think.
Gawkers is definitely meant to be comedic for most of it. I mean,
Mhm.
I do agree that like you're not really looking for the comedy, right? But I think that the fact that it took you until the last one, and then you had to look back on the other four to go, wait a minute, was this a funny movie? Like, that means no, it wasn't, right? It just means that maybe it should have been, or maybe it tried to be, right? And I think that the last one absolutely succeeds in that
Yeah.
it is funny, right? It has strong horror elements. They have a good vision of hell, solid monsters. It's gory in the right ways.
Yeah.
It's like Raimi levels of blood and guts, which is very amusing. But it's also hilarious, right? Like, the demon is one of the funniest people in the whole movie. And that alone is very funny. Like, that's just funny on paper, right?
Well,
funny
and
demon is
even
always
just the
funny.
juxtaposition between the very human dialogue in Hell is very good.
Right.
No, I think you're right. In all honesty, I think you're right. I think I might be less right because I'm never wrong. but that I softened on it because how much I liked this short, that I was like, okay,
well, this one is great.
Yeah, it's very, like, this could be, if this was in VHS, the first one, it would fit right in. Like, as just
I
like,
agree with that.
like, it would be the only horror comedy in there, but you'd still be like, this works. I like this. This is kind of fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I liked it a lot. I've got nothing else to say, but other than that, everything about this worked for me. If they somehow stretched this out to a full length movie, I think I'd be into it.
Yeah.
I think they'd have a hard time to do it, but I'd be into it.
Yeah.
Alan, what do you think about To Hell and Back?
This one definitely worked a lot for me. It's funny in every way that you want a short to be funny. And that does take a specific kind of writing chop, because if you're going to be writing something that is intended to be just, 20 minutes, 25 minutes max, like something that's kind of quick and digestible, being able to have that writing where the just the wordplay between our two guys, I think it's Troy and Nate are their names. It's just, they're hilarious in everything they do.
And what an ending.
Every time they're on the screen, they're just funny.
What
exactly.
an ending. Yeah, it's
what
funny
an
and then
ending.
it's horrifying.
Yeah. They get out, they're like, oh, we finally did it, but the Witchers are like, what?
Yeah.
You made us lose? Then they fucking kill him. It's
Well,
that switch flip.
and then it's the very human argument between the husband and the wife. It's be like, what do you mean? I take care of you. I provide for you. Like,
Yep.
Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful thing. I mean, for me, I kind of kept riding. Like I said, for me, it's just, I rode out to the end, really liking what I had to see here.
unfortunately, we are a monolith again.
We'll see.
But hey, speaking of monoliths, what would you rate this bad boy?
Yeah.
And
Well, how do we? Yeah.
How do we do that? That's a great question. It's a fucking great question, dude. It's such a sick goddamn question. The reality is we rate our movies 0 to 5 with half points allowed. So, for instance, let's just say like a 2.8, no. Fuck you for even thinking about it. But a 2.5, yes. So, going in all honesty, a complete random order, Corbin.
Okay.
The rare Corbin start.
Yeah. So I watched this with my wife, right? And she's a fan of VHS, and she ended up falling asleep after the first one, right? And she asked me this morning, because we watched it last night. She asked me this morning how it was, and I said it was okay, definitely not as good as the last one. And she was like, should I watch it? And I was like, probably not. And I stand by that. It's just like, it's not really scary. It's not really funny. It has a couple of high points, right? I did like 3 of the shorts, which is more than half. But I feel like, with the exception of To Hell and Back, I liked them more because they were surrounded by less good ones, right? I think VHS 94 was like such a high, and this one never reaches the highs of that one, like not even close. And it just doesn't take advantage of being a found footage movie. It never really takes advantage of the anthology concept well enough. It's not really scary. I think this is a below average movie. I would give this a 2 out of 5.
Alan.
Corbin comes in hot with a 2. For me, this one, while the beginning definitely was not great, it hooked me quite a bit more from the second one onward, but it does kind of just, not having that horror element makes this tough for me, because on the one hand, I want to say that this is as good for me as VHS 94. I do want to say that. Like, the will is there to say that. But I can't agree with that statement. Because it just doesn't go hard enough on either the horror comedy aspect or the horror aspect. It kind of plays this middle of the road game that ends up just kind of being, well, middle of the road. So I'm at a 2.5 out of 5.
Well, I guess I'm last. And here's the thing. Before Corbin started his review, I said to myself in my brain meat, this is a point lower than VHS 94. And as Corbin was reviewing, if the video version of this podcast shows up, you'll see. Wasn't quite paying attention to what Corbin said. So I was too busy looking at our previous reviews. And I looked and I went, that's a 3. And I was like, is it really a 3? Do I want to give this a 2? Is it really a 2? Do I want to give it 2.5? And then as Corbin was talking, Corbin said 2. And I was like, I got to give it 2.5. And it felt so uncomfortable in my stomach. Because this movie is in fact a 2. It's 2 out of 5. It's just, I don't want to copycat, but it is just, there's just not enough. There's just not enough here. It's good. The parts I like, there are peaks. But unfortunately, for how high the peaks are, the valleys just tend to be ever so slightly deeper. And so therefore, it's 2 out of 5. But I don't know if you know about this, dear listener, but that's not all we do. We also decide whether or not VHS 1999 is essential to movies, horror movies as a whole. And this is a spoiler-free part of this podcast. So if you skipped ahead, I'll tell you right now that both Corbin and I, dear listener, gave this a 2 out of 5. And Alan, like a sweet, sweet man, gave it a 2.5. Gave it a solid 50-50.
It got that bump.
Alan.
Oh.
Because you gave it the highest score. Essential or nah?
Hard no. There is nothing in this movie that does anything close to good enough to warrant even a consideration of essentiality. I don't think any of these shorts on their own are essential. I don't think putting them together into an anthology makes them essential. No.
Okay.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I'll go second because I went last, and it'll be fun. Is this movie essential? Well, is this the best VHS movie? The reality is, nah, it's not. I'm not even pretending it's not, right? But is this the worst VHS movie? No. It also isn't the worst VHS movie. Is it the second worst VHS movie? Maybe. Does this make this movie essential? Of course it doesn't. Like, it's going to be forgotten to history. There might be some skits that come out of this. There might even be some famous directors that come out of this. But is it going to be great? No. Of course not. It's fine. It's okay. Watch it if you want to, man. If you like these anthologies, you're not going to find something you don't like out of this. But it's fine. It's okay. That's it.
Yeah.
Bring us around, Corbin.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I basically agree with what Bobby said. It probably is the second worst VHS movie in a franchise that has, I believe, 6 entries at this point. Kind of an awkward place to be in. And especially coming off of 94, which I rated that a 3.5 out of 5. Maybe a little low, because my memory of that movie are very positive. Maybe somebody will come out of this, and the huge benefit of that is that you can just watch their segment, because there's really no wraparound story at all. But no, this is not essential. If you like found footage or if you like anthologies, sure, give it a watch. It's certainly not a terrible movie. It's not a total waste of time. There are highs. But if you're not an anthology person, if you're not a found footage person, there are like 3 other VHS movies that are way better that you should watch instead.
VHS 2, and VHS 94.
Those are the ones.
Dude, high five. There we go, right there, up top. 1, 2, 3, bam. But speaking of sick high fives between bros, where can we find your handles? What you guys have been up to lately?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at CoreBangarang or at Bolters_Bourbon. I have not had a ton of free time, but I spend it building and painting my Warhammer army. I'm currently focused on Dark Angels. That's very fun. And that is kind of it. I finished watching Behind the Monsters, which was Shudder's documentary series from last Halloween. I would recommend it. It's only 6 episodes. It focuses on like slasher icons. And then I started watching Shudder's 101 Scariest Moments, which is cool. Is basically like Shudder's version of In Search of Darkness, but not 80s. It's just all horror, which is kind of a nice reprieve, I think, instead of just getting like 700 80s movies.
Is your favorite Nightmare on Elm Street scene up in that list so far?
Well, I've only watched the first episode, and spoilers, I guess, but Nightmare is not in that first episode, which is a positive thing because it is obviously ascending, or descending.
I'm up to date, and I will say that my favorite horror movie scene of all time came up in the most recent episode, and which is the penultimate episode, which is the best I could hope for it to be in.
Is it? Can I guess what scene it is?
You can guess, yeah.
I immediately had one in mind. Yeah.
Is it The Exorcist 3?
Exorcist 3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course
okay.
it is.
That was what I assumed. When you said that, I was like, I bet it's Exorcist 3. Yeah.
Yeah. The penultimate, like, it's a bunch of film professors being like, if I were to describe a jump scare, it'd be this one. And I was like, yeah. I'd say it's the best jump scare of all time, and people with doctorates are agreeing with me, which makes me smart. By the way, you can find me at twitch.tv/theredweenie. All of my relevant socials are there, and I do not post often. However, I did quite recently win an award doing the absolute bare minimum, and I did post it with me and my wife. Won Best Couples Costume at a Halloween party. We did not do a lot of work, but we're cute enough that we won anyway. Other than that, I have been also watching, again, Shudder's 101 Best Horror Movies. I've also been, I don't know if you're aware of this, but we've been doing 33 days of Halloween on our Letterboxd. I do a terrible job. I recently, as in like just yesterday, day of recording, and I'm thinking I have something before the end of the week. I have live looking at it. Today is the 24th. On the 26th, so that is day of release.
It's Friday?
No,
it's Thursday.
No,
day after release.
No, the 26th is Wednesday, guys.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Day of release. I will be doing a review of The Shining. Look out for that. For me to horribly try to say, hey, Kubrick is cool and so is Stephen King. Check out that on our Letterboxd. Twitch.tv/theredweenie. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram.
You can find me at a seal punter just about anywhere. I had my first Warhammer day this past Sunday where I fucking won because Emperor's Children rule. And Terminators are really handy in 40K. It was a ton of fun just to have buddies over. We got my friend went to Gen Con and he got some like laser printed or like laser cut terrain.
MDF terrain is what it's called.
Yeah. It was great stuff. Like it was really handy. It was cheap too, so like it worked out really well. It was a ton of fun. We had a grand old time. And my wife and I are also going to be going to a Halloween party on Friday. And we're gonna be dressing up as a magician and a rabbit because we were desperate to try and find something to be, and that's what we came up with.
You know that thing he said in the beginning of the episode?
Yeah. It's gonna be a ton of fun. Super excited.
He absolutely forgot that was recorded content.
No, what are you talking about? You're Bobby. You don't exist. You're just a figment of Corbin's imagination.
I just need you to understand that I am paying the most amount of attention in my life for this 60 plus minutes.
60 plus hours.
But you can also find this podcast anywhere at where, Corbin?
At Essential Scares. We are active on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and we'd love it if you followed us. In our bio, we have a link to our Linktree, which includes a link to our Discord, where we talk every day about movies, music, games, and whatever else strikes our fancy. And it also includes a link to our letterbox that Bobby already mentioned, where we are currently writing a new movie review every single day for the 33 days of Halloween. And then maybe we'll come back to it in December. Maybe we'll wait another year. Who knows? But right now, there's a bunch of cool stuff on there. Definitely check it out. And, hey, say hi. If you liked the show, give us a thumbs up, a rating, a review, whatever you like. Share it with your friends, your family, your coworkers, anybody on the street that might say, hey, what's your favorite scary movie? Just send them to us. Next week, we are starting a new theme. We are going to be covering, for the month of November, an entire franchise. And this is a new for us on the audio podcast, where we were going to cover Insidious, all 4 of them. We will be going week by week to determine if Insidious, as a whole, is essential to horror. But that's it for this week. Thank you so much to Alan and Bobby for being on the show with me. I have been your host, Corbin, and this has been Essential Scares.
We're gonna party like it's 1990. Play that breakdown, baby.